Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:03. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and it's very quiet here today, but It
will be very quiet, yeah.
Yeah, I am in the studio with producer Pete Coles, that voice that you hear in the background. So no students today, Pete.
Nope.
Yeah,
right? Yesterday was their last day before the break.
Nice.
Thanksgiving break.
So they.
It was a madhouse around here, though, because Culinary distributed, they had over 300 meal orders. I don't know, God knows how many pies.
Yeah.
And other fixings, as they were.
Well, good for them. So was that kind of a fundraiser for them, Pete?
It's something they've been doing every year, but now because of the pandemic, they can't open the restaurant. So it becomes even more critical that they get something like that and they get a big turnout, which they did, which was great.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. And have you heard anything about the Figgy food the Figgy food drive?
I think it was over 220 meals.
Nice.
Easily. I know they had about 250 turkeys donated, so.
Yeah. I know it was
big this year.
There is an article on the front page of today's Westfield News, and I stopped by the Senior Center on my way into the studio, as I do every week, and grabbed the paper, just quickly glanced. There were some pictures, but I didn't have a chance to read the article, so I'll have to.
That machine's been going since like Monday,
yeah,
or even Sunday.
Yeah.
I know Ralph's they got potatoes donated at the last minute and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, they've been really busy.
It's an operation, as we all have.
But it's been kind of compartmentalized because of COVID. I don't really know what's going on because they're just working. So
yes,
I think they had to use the gym this year.
They did. They did. I knew that they were at least I knew that they were going to do that. So, as Pete just mentioned, for those who are listening, usually WSKB has been very involved in the Thanksgiving food drive and broadcasting live and so forth. And obviously, we weren't able to do any of that. And Ralph and Sue really, just a huge shout out to them. But they really, poured it on this year and turned things around, did things differently, as we all are, doing things differently. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, we're learning that we're doing things better or more efficiently. And some things I think we certainly at the Council on Aging there are certain things that we've changed that we will keep. We'll keep it the COVID method even after we return to the senior center.
The biggest downfall of all this is the human contact that we as a species crave.
Yeah.
That's been the hardest part.
Yeah, it has. And
that's why a lot of people are getting COVID fatigue.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. And, my guest second hour will be Joe Rouse, and I'm sure we'll get into that topic a little bit. And, Joe Rouse is the Director of Public Health for the City of Westfield, and we're going to discuss holiday safety, among other things. But, so I stopped by the Senior Center on my way in because today is our curbside turkey dinner. And we've sold out. We have a new record high, 200 people coming through the line today.
Ouch.
Yes, and then we have another 140 or so meals that we'll be delivering tomorrow to our homebound folks. So
That's a
so
lot of turkey.
it's a lot of turkey. It's a lot of cooking. I would like to extend a thank you to Rebecca Hart over at the food pantry who helped us out with tomorrow's meal. She and her crew made 100 turkey dinners for us, and so then we have to add another 40 to that, and then Joe and George are working on the 200 for today. So I pulled into the senior center parking lot this morning, and the center was lit up like a Christmas tree. Joe and George are there.
Sure.
I have no idea what time they got there. My guess is at around 4. And lights on, food everywhere, smells fantastic, and so we'll be seeing 200 of our
Turkey takes time.
It does. It takes time, and of course, all the fixins, all the extras and the sides, and I have pie cutting duty, so I'm blasting out of here at just a couple minutes before 8. So
Harry would love that because he's got Judy Matt on right at 8
Okay.
o'clock. He's only got it for 25 minutes.
Well,
so.
perfect. So we will finish up at 5 of 8, and I will be out of here so I can go cut pie for JoJo and George.
Okay.
And so that Mary Lou and Karen can, wrap it up and box it and bag it, and it's a whole process, Pete. But it's Thanksgiving. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So we're coming into the holidays. I know Bob Plass was on yesterday talking about his Christmas trees. And by the way, my Christmas tree ladies were at the senior center a couple of days this week. So our on the stage, which we will be lighting these next week. So starting on Monday, they did the police themed tree. So our thanks to the Westfield Police Department. And that is our tree that is adorned in blue for the police department. And then upstairs, if you drive by the senior center on Noble Street, look up at the second floor window, and that is the veterans tree is up there, and you can see it from the window. It looks really, really pretty. We have the shades up, and that's almost a floor-to-ceiling window, so really nice. And thank you to Marion Krause and Barbara Wojcik for adding some sparkle to the senior center.
Cool.
So, Pete, what have you been up to? What's doing?
Just a lot of work.
Yep.
A lot of craziness trying to get stuff done at the last minute. Couple senior center shows last week.
Yes, oh my God.
Trying to get those edited.
Yes, thank you to you and to Kenny and to JPEG Luca and to Harry Rock. Because once again,
those weren't cookie cutter shows. Those were
they were challenging.
They were editing shows.
I know. They were challenging, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, Pete. I have this Saturday, the Voice of Experience newsletter comes out. The Westfield Senior Center Voice of Experience newsletter comes out. You talk about editing. I had to peel back. I had so many words and so many articles. We have, again, so much going on in December, and especially thanks to you and Kenny and Jay and the crew. So
well, I've been trying since August to get another Studio 120 episode out, and I just don't have any time. And I feel bad for the artists because I'm gonna try to do some over the Thanksgiving break because I'm working a couple of shifts. They really need me in Mount Holyoke, but I'm gonna try to do some of them. I mean, literally, I don't have time if I want to sleep.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, there is that.
There is not enough hours a day. Like last night, I had a conservation commission that went from 6:30 till almost 10.
Again, yeah.
Again.
I don't. You know what, Pete?
It was three hours something.
I gotta tell you,
close to 10.
I woke up this morning. I am exhausted, and I can't even imagine what you're feeling like.
I'm taking naps now. I've got into I feel like a senior because
hey.
I go home in the afternoon, and if I know I have like yesterday, I went home and took an hour and a half nap because there's no way I would fall asleep.
Yeah. It's tough because you've got all those nighttime meetings. I've got all the nighttime stuff that I'm trying to do, but at least I can run around and.
I feel schizophrenic because I work early in the morning and I work late at night.
Yeah.
And it's like,
this is how bad it has gotten for me. This is how few.
I'm not complaining because I'm gainfully employed, but
right, I know. Yes, exactly. There's always a silver lining, right?
Right.
But this is I can't even believe I'm going to admit this on the air, Pete. But this is how bad it is. I have so few brain cells by the end of the day. So one day last week, I'm running around looking for my glasses. At work, at the senior center, it's like I know I had them, and I'm retracing my steps. And in angst, I put my hand to my face, and went, oh my God. And guess what? I'm wearing they weren't on top of my head. I was wearing them. I was looking through them. So that was last
I've never
week.
done that before.
Yeah, I haven't either, but that's how bad it is. But this is, and the only thing that topped it was last night when I went to take my glasses off and I wasn't wearing them. I mean, I literally went to, it's like, oh, I got to take my glasses off. And I just said, you know what? It's time to go home, Tina. You're completely losing it.
Well, I've been trying to kick you out forever out of that place.
I know. Oh my gosh. Wait. Well,
I'm gonna take some time off. I don't know if I can, but I'm gonna try to start taking because I have so much vacation time.
Oh my God. I can't.
Because then I do the World Series.
Yeah.
So I have a ton of vacation time, and I'm like, I gotta start taking days off. But then it's like, I got shows, and I got.
I know it's
every day I got shows, and
well, I know that, and that is my problem. People tell me that all the time. It's like, you need to take time off. I'm like, okay, and when am I supposed to do it? Because you try to schedule a day. There are days, even days when I just say, okay, today I'm going to leave at 5:00, and inevitably something happens. I get a phone call. A senior is, please, I need medical equipment. He's being discharged from the hospital today. And, it's like, then suddenly I'm waiting for somebody.
Poor planning on your part is not a result of...
No. But you know what, Pete? I find with a lot of those kinds of things, it's not poor planning on their part. It's the hospital. All of a sudden, you're thinking the discharge was going to be Saturday, and it's like, okay, come and get him. He's ready now. And you're right.
If a couple days beforehand,
But that is not what's been happening because of COVID, and I think because of the resurge, we're having a lot of people that I had one the other day. She had called me last week planning. She was like, okay, I said, all right, as soon as we know the discharge date was supposed to be Saturday. And then she was calling me like the next afternoon, panicking. They're sending him home now. They're saying, come get him in an hour. And, I'm not ready. And, and she had called me and I said, okay, we have time and we'll get everything ready. So a little crazy, but we do the best we can helping people out. So, Pete, we have a famous birthday today, and I think this is somebody that you really like. You're an Amy Grant fan, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, today is Amy Grant's birthday, November 25th. She was born 1960 in Augusta, Georgia, and guess what? She is 60 years old. So Amy Grant.
That's hard.
Yes, it's hard I know, Pete. Pete. Take a breath. But Amy Grant can be a member of the Westfield Senior Center.
She was a crush when I was in high school and beyond.
I know. When I realized it was her birthday, I was like, oh, I think Pete is really, he's got a thing for Amy Grant.
Yep.
So Amy Grant is a Grammy-winning singer-songwriter who came up in the Christian music industry and became a crossover pop success. She has been referred to as the Queen of Christian Pop. Amy Grant's first album was released in 1977 on the Christian label Word Music. With the 1985 album Unguarded, Grant's sound began changing. Much of her music had a soft rock element to it, but this release sounded even more like a mainstream pop record. Amy Grant found more mainstream success with the album Heart in Motion in 1991, which featured the song Baby Baby. During her long career, Amy Grant has won numerous awards, including 6 Grammy Awards and more than 20 Dove Awards from the Gospel Music Association. And she's married to singer Vince Gill.
I know. I'm still mad at him.
That was her second marriage, but they've been married for quite a while now. So yeah, I knew Pete.
She's still beautiful
happy
too.
About that, she really is. She's just, she's what Gary would call the ivory girl, beautiful.
Just
really
ageless,
pretty, and yeah, exactly, very classic. Okay, let's take a break. It is 6:15. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So I chose this Amy Grant song. I had actually not heard it, but I really loved this song when I heard it. It's called Simple Things, and it's in honor of the birthday of Amy Grant, but it also, I think, plays to our upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, as well as kind of some thought-provoking pandemic, ideas. So let's listen to Simple Things by Amy Grant.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:20. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning, in a very quiet studio this morning, with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
Yeah, it seems strange not to have the students. You know, for so long we didn't have anybody here because of COVID and so forth, and then they came back, and I kind of got used to having people around again, and now it's...
I have a feeling we're going to go back to that for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I think the governor's been telegraphing he's going to lock down the joint after Thanksgiving. You know what? I know. He's been telegraphing that for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah. It is what it is. All right, so hey, listen, we have some more famous birthdays. Let's talk about this next one. It is the birthday of the late, great Joe DiMaggio, Major League Baseball player, born this day in 1914 in Martinez, California. Passed away in 1999 at the age of 84. Joe DiMaggio started and ended his major league career with the New York Yankees. Between 1936 and 1951, DiMaggio helped lead the Yankees to 9 World Series titles. However, it's not how he started. He grew up in the San Francisco area and played baseball for the Seals, which was the city's Pacific Coast League team. And he actually got on that team because of his older brother. His older brother was playing, and he was DiMaggio was quite the little legend, in the Sandlots kind of thing. And so his brother, somebody got hurt, and his brother said, "Well, my little brother can fill in," and so that was the beginning. DiMaggio's got his shot at the majors when he was sold to the New York Yankees for $25,000 and 5 players. Although he had incredible natural talents, DiMaggio's sudden rise from West Coast obscurity to the most storied team in the major leagues was driven primarily by his legendary work ethic. "A ball player has to be kept hungry to become a big leaguer," he later remarked. "That's why no boy from a rich family has ever made the big leagues." In addition to his prowess at the plate, Joe DiMaggio was also a phenomenally skilled center fielder and base runner. As fellow baseball great Yogi Berra put it, "He never did anything wrong on the field. I'd never seen him dive for a ball. Everything was a chest-high catch, and he never walked off the field." During the 1941 season, in which the Yankees again won the World Series, DiMaggio set perhaps the most unbreakable record in all of sports by hitting safely in 56 consecutive games, shattering the 1897 record of 44 games set by Willie Keeler of the Baltimore Orioles. DiMaggio's record for most hits in consecutive games still stands today. DiMaggio's hitting streak enthralled the nation, inspiring the Les Brown song Joltin' Joe DiMaggio. Following his retirement in 1951, DiMaggio was briefly married to Marilyn Monroe and elected to the Hall of Fame in 1955. So happy birthday to Joe DiMaggio. Quite a career. Quite a story, kind of a rags to riches story. His dad was he was a milkman, and he just assumed his kids would all do the same thing.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting stuff.
Sometimes
one never knows. Let's do another birthday. There's some really interesting birthdays today. So Joe DiMaggio, which we've all heard about. It is also the birthday of the late Andrew Carnegie, the steel tycoon. And
now I've heard this pronounced both ways.
Carnegie and Carnegie.
Yep.
I always say Carnegie, but I have too. So
I watched a show called The Titans of America or something like that.
How did they
Men Who Made
pronounce it?
America Great in Carnegie.
Carnegie. Okay, well then that's how we're going.
Because I think that's the Scottish way of doing it.
and that's where he was
But then,
born.
but
He
then
was
some
born in
people,
Scotland.
some American people in that, when he was talking, people were talking to him that he knew. It was always Carnegie, and then people would call him Carnegie. So
Okay.
I've heard it both ways too.
Well, we'll go with
But he was a Scot,
we'll go with
so-
the Scot. That's right. He was born in Scotland. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right, Pete. He was born in Scotland in 1835. He died in 1919 at the age of 83. After moving to the United States from Scotland, Andrew Carnegie worked a series of railroad jobs. He left the railroad in 1865 to focus on his other business interests. By the next decade, most of Carnegie's time was dedicated to the steel industry. His business, which became known as the Carnegie Steel Company, revolutionized steel production in the United States. He built plants around the country using technology and methods that made manufacturing steel easier, faster, and more productive. But here's the part that I thought was really interesting. And Pete, I know you've done a lot of, watching of documentaries and so forth, so you probably know this. But for every step of the process, Carnegie owned exactly what he needed:
Yep.
the raw materials, ships and railroads for transporting the goods, and even coal fields to fuel the steel furnaces. This start-to-finish strategy helped Carnegie become the dominant force in the industry and an exceedingly wealthy man. It also made him known as one of America's builders, as his business helped to fuel the economy and shape the nation into what it is today. By 1889, Carnegie Steel Corporation was the largest of its kind in the world. In 1901, at the age of 65, Andrew Carnegie sold his business and dedicated his time to expanding his philanthropic work, including the establishment of Carnegie Mellon University in 1904. And Pete, I don't know if you knew this. He died in Lenox, Massachusetts. Did you know that? I don't know
No.
whether he had retired to the Berkshires,
I'm sure he did, yeah.
but that's where he retired. I mean, that's where he passed away in 1919. So I thought that was kind of
his battles
interesting.
with Rockefeller were legendary.
yeah. So
And the Commodore, too,
okay.
that owned the railroads.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
there was one
can
one
kinda see
scene
why.
where it was talking about getting something somewhere, and it was either Rockefeller or Carnegie, and they show a scene of them blocking the Albany River Bridge from Massachusetts into New York, and like stopping trains there
Yeah.
from the rest of the country.
it reminds me of the remember the thing with Christie, the governor of New Jersey, and that whole debacle a few years ago with the traffic jam
Oh, that
between
whole
New
crazy
Jersey
thing,
and
yeah.
Delaware. Kind of sort of a similar tactics. I mean, here it is. 150 years later or whatever. We're
Yep.
still doing the same crazy things.
Yep.
All righty. Well, happy birthday to Joe DiMaggio and Andrew Carnegie. So very cool. So, Pete, I just wanted to reiterate for our listeners. So, and I know you were on with Bob. I was in and out. I was exercising, listening to some of Bob's show. So, the trees. Tell us about the WOW trees. They're up. Are they up at
The Tree
Roots?
Jubilee is up at Roots now
Okay, which
because it outgrew Granova.
yeah. Well, and with social distancing, it's kind of hard to.
Right,
I mean,
so
they needed a big space. So
They really don't have.
explain
It's
that.
not really open to the public. I guess
Okay.
Kenny did some kind of a video, or there's some kind of a video that's on the
Okay.
WOW website
Okay.
to look at the trees. You can do like
Okay.
a virtual tour, and then I think if you go on the WOW website, there you can also buy the raffle tickets.
Right, because
for
people
them.
are bidding on the trees.
Right, and there's also a toilet paper Christmas tree. I think it's either 60
Oh my God, how
or
funny!
168 rolls of toilet paper.
Oh my God. Well, that would have sold for $1 million about 6 months ago.
It may again. So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
another run on toilet paper.
Yeah.
But all those are on the WOW website.
Okay.
Or if they're not there, there's a link to them. I think
I-
there might be a separate Tree Jubilee website.
Okay.
But there's also, Kenny said something about the Decemberfest website that's going to be up on Friday or
Okay.
Saturday.
Okay. So kind of stay tuned, and we'll try to keep.
We haven't even
people
set the TV
informed.
schedule yet because we got to work around your schedule and we got to work around meetings. And I'm trying to tell Bob, I'm like, Bob, I can't guarantee anything after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. Well, I know
Prime
that.
time is poof.
I try to do all my planning for daytime stuff like earlier in the afternoon just for that reason.
You would think the holidays, would kind of decrease the number of shows. Oh no.
Yeah. No.
Oh no. Meetings
Oh,
and
no.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the December schedule just for meetings, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Oh, Pete, you should have seen me trying to put together my newsletter for December.
Next
it was
week, 1,
so
2, 3, 4,
jam-
5 meetings next week.
So jammed with stuff.
Oh, the week after, the week of the 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8
Yeah.
so far,
Yeah.
including the tax rate meeting.
Yeah, well, that's always a fun one.
Yeah.
And you
That's going to be a Zoom webinar, so the public can attend that.
okay.
They won't be able to speak, but they can
But they
submit written questions.
Okay.
Or if there's public speak, we can
comments,
move them
yeah.
into the room for
Okay.
a short period of time and out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a little. We're going to try it.
And now when is that going to be, Pete?
That's scheduled for December the 10th.
Okay. So that's in a week and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'll be doing that meeting.
Good enough. Yes. Yeah. That'll be it. That'll be a toughie. Lots of stuff going on, folks. I mean, I don't know if people think that we had somebody, one of my staff members, Sandra Fisher, has been, doing not all, but a lot of our telephone reassurance calls. And, somebody said to her, she told me this, and of course she hit me at exactly the wrong time. It was like the end of the day. I was really fried. I mean, we're exhausted. And she said, yeah, I was on the phone with one of the seniors who said, well, the senior center's closed, so what are you people doing over there? Kind of like, you're not doing anything. It's closed, right? I was like, are you kidding me?
But.
Yeah, I know. And I think people think that about, all of us. City council, the city hall employee, the city workers. I mean, it's like,
we have to keep this government moving.
Exactly. And it's, it's more challenging in so many ways. So, all right. So listen, it is time for a break. It is 6:31. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. Of course, I had to play this song for Joe DiMaggio. It's in honor of the birthday of Jolton Joe DiMaggio. We're going to listen to Center Field by John Fogerty.
Well, I beat the drum and hold the phone. The sun came out today.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host on this day before Thanksgiving. And in the studio with me, secluded in his glass booth over there, is the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So this Saturday, the Voice of Experience newsletter hits the streets, the December edition. It is, it's really chock full of information. We have all kinds of stuff happening in the month of December. And, you know, one of them, I want to shout out to Pete and to Harry Rock. And Harry Rock's show will be happening right after mine this morning on the
Judy Matt and Bob Plass.
So that'll be a really fun show. But, you know, typically we have done, Harry's been hosting a series for us that we started back in, I think, April or May with Rock Palmer was our first guest. It's primarily an educational program for older adults, primarily. But a lot of the information is really pertinent to anybody. And the series is called Westfield Council on Aging Presents. And we've done topics like, legal issues. We did one on depression, on Medicare fraud, dementia. So we've really had a wide variety of topics. And Mary Lou Najolski, my program director, and I sat down several weeks ago and said, this pandemic has dragged on. As Pete mentioned before, people are really getting COVID fatigue. So, and the holidays are coming up, and they're going to be challenging in a lot of different ways, some good, some bad, but different. They're going to be different. So we thought we would do we really wanted to make December a fun month in terms of our programming and some of what we put on Cable Channel 15 for you. So we decided for the Council on Aging Presents series, and instead of doing sort of a heavier topic, we would do something fun. So we brought in the Senior Center art instructor, Elaine Lees, to do a project. Because I've worked with Elaine before. She actually came in and was a guest presenter at a class that Gary and I were teaching at Springfield College on integrated medicine, and did a similar type of thing that she did here. So Elaine will be, this is taped, so beginning next Tuesday, in 6 days, you can tune in at 2:45 on Tuesday afternoon, and Elaine is going to demonstrate how to make a very simple holiday door ornament, a decoration for your door. And I said to her, the caveat, Elaine, is that you have to have items that most people would have at home, because a lot of our seniors, especially, and myself included, I'm right in that group, we're not really going very many places. We're not going out to the big stores or anything like that. So can you come up with something that most of us have hanging around the house that we can just gather? And so she did that. So Harry hosted that. Pete, of course, has been filming all of this fantastic stuff for us. So that'll be, and so there's an article in the December newsletter on that. But I wanted to shout out to both Pete and Harry and Elaine for doing that. She said she had a lot of fun with it. We had gotten several requests from people who have taken Elaine's art classes at the Senior Center. Can't she do something? And so I had a woman who, believe it or not, Pete, called me the afternoon that you all did the taping and said, she called me about something else, but she said, by the way, she goes, wouldn't it be really great if Elaine Lees did something on TV, art? And I said, well, funny you should say that, because they taped it today. This woman was thrilled. When is it going to be on? When's it going to be on? So I said it'll be on every Tuesday in December. So the first time you might just want to watch it and see what the project is, and and then wait, and then the
She
following
moves at a
week.
fairly leisurely pace, so I think you'd be okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's her style. She's been working with seniors for a long time at the senior center, so we're really happy about that. And thanks, of course, to Harry Rock, who's hosted that series for us. And that was actually Pete's idea, to get Harry to come in and kind of do it as a host
Yeah, he's
series.
good at
So,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, and he said he's really had a lot of fun with it. He's learned a lot. And as a reminder, folks, all of those presentations Pete has bundled on YouTube. So just if you look at the newsletter, every month I'm putting the article on how to access the YouTube and how to live stream Channel 15 if you don't have cable. So we've had a lot of questions because the newsletter is so chock full of information with, what's happening. I've had a lot of questions about how do I get the Voice of Experience newsletter. So first of all, a couple things. The newsletter is published and hits the streets the last Saturday of every month. So it will be coming out this Saturday. Now, what we weren't sure about, because the last 2 months we've had seniors telling us that on Saturday, when they got their edition of the Westfield News and the Republican, some of them got the newsletter in it and some of them didn't. And so I contacted Fran Smith over at the Republican and I said, okay, clarify. So the clarification is, if you have a subscription to the Westfield News and the Republican, then you get the Voice of Experience newsletter on the last Saturday of the month as an insert into your paper. So those of you that have subscriptions and are getting it delivered, you will get it. If you buy it like at Big Y or one of the local convenience stores, it will not be in there. That's where we were all getting confused, because in the old days when Patrick Berry owned the paper, it was if you bought it on the street, you would get it in there. That's not the case now. So if you have a subscription, that's how you get it. But on Monday, the Monday after the last Saturday of the month, that's when, we start distributing it at the senior center. Those who come through our lunch line get it. If you're not getting a lunch, but you'd like to come through the line to get copies, we have people that do that every month. Best time to come is between 11:30 and 11:45 when the line is really short. You can zip right through and curbside, and we'll give you as many copies as you need. It's available in the local pharmacies. We get it out to the senior housing complexes, up to Hampton Village. We send a couple hundred copies up there. Arrow Drug, all the Stop and Shop Pharmacy, Walgreens, CVS, all the pharmacies get it. We used to get it out to all the doctor's offices, but there's so much telehealth now that's not so much of an idea. But we're going to do 2 new things this month that we haven't done in the past. One is we have a large, like a tan-colored bin on the front porch right near the senior center door. It's protected. It's under an overhang. It's got a dark green lid to it. We are going to keep copies of the newsletter there, so you can really come by the senior center anytime. Just lift up the lid, take as many copies as you need. So we'll be doing that starting this month. And the other thing that we're going to do for those who are homebound and for those who are not computer savvy, because it is also on the city website. The newsletter is, if you go into the Council on Aging department, the newsletter is updated on the city website. But for those who don't drive, because we have had calls saying, well, I can't drive to come and get it, and I'm not computer savvy, so I can't get it online. If you mail us a self-addressed stamped, it's got to have a stamp on it, stamped envelope, we will mail you your own copy of the newsletter. So
you should ask the Republican if they have any of those little paper machines and set it for like a nickel or something.
Paper machine.
You know that we used to go buy your paper and you pull open the door?
Yeah.
You should ask the Republican if they have any of those left. You could use that and set it for a nickel.
Well, it doesn't, but I don't need that, because the problem, the issue is for those that are, it's available. People can come and get it. I'm
saying at your place so the people don't steal it or whatever.
Well, I'm just going to put so many copies into the bin, and at a time, and so
okay.
I
Just
think
saying
it'll
they
be
might have those
fine.
machines kicking around.
Yeah, I
There's
think
one
it'll
that's
be
been up
fine.
in North
I don't really
Road
want to
for-
charge people for it, but it's
well,
it's
just
there
to
for them.
keep it
Yeah,
it
just
secure.
keep it secure. I think it'll be okay. We're going to try this, but
Republicans had one sitting up on North Road by 7Bs on the side of that building for 5 years, and it hasn't had a paper in it since then.
yeah, right, yeah.
I could
Well,
probably
I'm sure,
bring it
yeah.
down there. We find a lock for it.
Yeah, but anyway, so we're going to try that, and but again, my bigger problem, the bigger problem that we've had with people is who don't drive, who can't get out there, and who don't have computers, and it's like, how can I get one? And so I finally, and I don't, a lot of people would say, would you mail us one? Well, I have 8,000 seniors in the city, so it's not in my budget. I can't
Right.
mail it to you. I can't afford it. But then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. If you send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, then I
You don't
can
wa-
mail it to you.
You don't want to get involved in that. That becomes a quagmire.
What, the mailing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
You don't have the man hours to do all that because everybody will send it to you.
right. Yeah.
Just the man hours of packaging all that up and getting all that out. It's
And you know
crazy,
what?
too.
Even the man hours just to get it bundled and distributed throughout because we were
Right.
The other thing that I'm going to do, which I didn't do in the past, but I'm asking Highland Valley Elder Services for permission to send it out with the home delivered meal drivers. And again, because now we're doing so much cable programming, that's perfect for those that are getting home delivered meals who are homebound. You can get your exercises by turning on Channel 15. You can get entertainment by turning on Channel 15. You can get educational programs. Because probably about 6 months ago, Pete, we started having it delivered to those at Armbrook Village and the Arbors in their apartments.
Okay.
So we give it to the activities people there. And they used to just keep it in their lobby, but now, in a lot of cases, they keep putting the folks in lockdown if they have cases.
Right.
So it's actually being delivered to each of the apartments. And now I'm finding that some of the Channel 15 programming, at least at the Arbors, is on their calendar of like activities and things to do.
Their
It's
stuff.
like turn on Channel 15, and
Well, it
you
helps
can
them
do
out
this,
because
so.
they don't have to,
Right.
They can't run exercise programs either. So.
That's exactly it. And that's why I said to them, I'm like, get this to your folks right in their apartments because we got so much great programming. So that's that. So remember this Saturday, new Voice of Experience newsletter is coming out. Lots of stuff going on in December. It is 6:47. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We're gonna do a John Denver song. It's Back Home Again, and this is just kind of a Thanksgiving type of song. So here you go, John Denver.
There's a storm across the valley, clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder. He's an hour away from riding on your prayers up in the sky. 10 days on the road, barely gone. There's a fire softly burning, supper's on the stove. It's a light in your eyes that makes him warm. Hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long-lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. There's all the news to tell him. How'd you spend your time? What's the latest thing the neighbors say? And your mother called last Friday. Sunshine made her cry. You felt the baby move just yesterday. Hey, it's good to be back home Sometimes this old farm feels like a long lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. Oh, the time that I can lay this tired old body down, feel your fingers feather soft on me. The kisses that I live for, the love that lights my way, the happiness of living with you brings me. It's the sweetest thing I know of, just spending time with you. It's the little things that make a house a home, like a fire softly burning, supper on the stove, the light in your eyes, it makes me warm. Hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. Hey, it's good to be back home again. You know it is. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long lost friend. Hey, it's good to be back home again. I said, hey, it's good to be back home again.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:52. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in a very quiet studio this morning with producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So on the day before gathering around the turkey, gather around the nearest jukebox to celebrate National Jukebox Day. This is one of my favorite days of the year because I love jukebox music. So as Americans flock to their hometowns for Thanksgiving, maybe not so much this year, many will head out to neighborhood bars. Probably not so much this year, and restaurants to catch up with friends and family and celebrate by playing great songs on their local jukebox. So the name jukebox is thought to originate from places called juke houses or juke joints, which were establishments in the early 1900s where people congregated to drink and listen to music. In 1889, the first coin-operated player was invented in San Francisco by Louis Glass and his partner William Arnold, both managers of the Pacific Phonograph Company. God, phonographs. Remember phonographs, Pete? Mm-hmm. Formerly known as the nickel-in-the-slot machine, the player included a coin operation feature on an Edison phonograph and played a limited selection of songs without any amplification. Throughout history, the jukebox continued to evolve with the times. When recording artists were first crooning into microphones and cutting records into vinyl, an aspiring inventor in a Chicago music store worked nights to build a box that would play both sides of the record. When the Bluegrass Boys played the Grand Ole Opry to sold-out audiences, guys and gals would dance the night away by playing their song over and over again on the jukebox at a local pub. With the advancement of technology, today's jukebox is now more versatile than ever before, with touchscreen interfaces that respond to the swipe of a finger, or can even be controlled by a mobile app. And a vast virtual library of songs, including back catalog jukebox heroes alongside top artists of today. Throughout each era, from big band and jazz, country and blues, to rock and roll, acoustic, electric, and everything in between, the jukebox has played it all. So happy National Jukebox Day, which is always the day before Thanksgiving.
I'm surprised you didn't play Jukebox Hero by Styx or Foreigner.
I had a couple of different jukebox things to play, and you'll notice on that song that we're going to be playing at 7:30. I won't mention the name yet, but that's a jukebox song, which is kind of cool. So I thought that would play into our guest coming on as well. So that's why I chose that. That's why I chose that one. So yeah. Okay, a couple more birthdays. It is the birthday of the late Ricardo Montalban, actor. You remember him. The plane. Born November 25th, 1920 in Mexico City. He died in 2009 at the age of 88. Montalban's career spanned 7 decades, during which he became known for many performances in a variety of genres.
I remember the rich Corinthian leather.
There you go. We're going to talk about that, Pete. From crime and drama to musicals and comedy. How you could remember that is like beyond me. Because when I do the research on these, things come back to me, but it's like you could just come off with them off the top of your head. Among his more well-known roles.
Or better yet, I have to move the mic away. Yeah, that one.
Among Montalban's more well-known roles, he portrayed Armando in the Planet of the Apes film series from the early 1970s, starring in both Escape from the Planet of the Apes and Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. He starred in both the original Star Trek television series and the film Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Montalban played Mr. Rourke, as you can hear in the background, on the television series Fantasy Island. De plane.
Harvey Villachez.
From 1977 to 1984. And that surprised me because I didn't think Fantasy Island ran that many years.
Oh, yeah, it did.
I
was
thought
on forever.
that just surprised me, Pete. I thought it was like 2 or 3 years, and it was, like 8. He won an Emmy Award for his role in the miniseries How the West Was Won in 1978 and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Screen Actors Guild in 1993. Ricardo Montalban was professionally active into his 80s when he provided voices for animated films and commercials. And here you go, Pete. During the 1970s and 1980s, he was a spokesman for Chrysler, and in their commercials, he extolled the rich Corinthian leather used for Cordoba's interior. I can't believe you could remember that without being prompted. I had to read it, and then I went, oh, yeah. I remember
it's
he did that.
It's one of the classic commercials of all time.
I know. So funny. All right. So that's our friend Ricardo Montalban. All right. Let's switch gears for a minute. I have one more birthday, but we'll do that one
he was a classic.
After the 7th. He was a classic. He was a very handsome man. He's one of those men who really aged well and I think became even more handsome as he got older. Okay, a few more Senior Center announcements. And actually, this isn't even just Senior Center because some of this is Channel 15 programming and, it's for the whole family, like the Sarah the Fiddler concert, which we have been broadcasting throughout the month of November, and this was really in honor of our veterans and to say to say thank you during the Thanksgiving season. So we have Sarah the Fiddler, and the concert dates that are left, because Pete's been playing that on Wednesdays and Saturdays and on Veterans Day, but it will be played tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day, at 2 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. So those are the last of the Sarah the Fiddler concerts on Channel 15 for the month of November.
I may sneak it in as filler here and there.
Yeah. It's and it's the perfect kind of. But you know what? It's also, and I've had a lot of seniors watching it because they've been commenting as they've been coming through the lunch line, really enjoying it. And I know for a fact that some of them are probably watching it every single time you air it, Pete.
My biggest problem is that nights where meetings I think are going to go long, I have to block out a whole night, and then I got to come up with filler on the fly. So
there you go.
Sometimes I'll just throw stuff in there.
Yeah,
because I got to fill some time.
Right, and that's okay, and it's entertaining, and people are flipping around, and they're excited. So
people have been really psyched about me running, and I don't know if you want to tell the seniors this, but after I do my regular programming at night, I run NASA TV all night long. So if you're up and you got insomnia, that may cure it.
There it is.
But I don't think they carry NASA TV on Comcast anymore. So, and I have permission from NASA to run it whenever I want. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of a space buff, there you go.
Yes.
All right. And also we have a couple of new programs, fitness programs for December, for November. And again, remember, folks, we're gearing this to seniors. It's for anybody. Any age. Anybody can do some of these. Renee Ricks is doing a yoga dance program on Saturdays now at noontime. So there will be one this Saturday, and again, it's in the privacy of your own home. So try some of this stuff out. Don't worry about what you look like or who's watching. Nobody's watching. You're doing it in your house,
right? Your spouse could be watching, but they could join you too.
Who cares? And you know what though? And encourage your grandchildren and your children to do this. I think some of this stuff would be a lot of fun for kids to do as well. So
yeah.
And also Terry Summers, our chair yoga specialist. Did a new she's now done 3 chair yoga classes, different classes for us that we've been broadcasting on Channel 15. So she did a new one for the month of November. So I'm calling it her wintertime chair yoga. We had her summertime chair yoga, her chair yoga, and now we're doing her wintertime one. And there's just, she just tries to tweak it a little bit, change it up, just to make it fresh and interesting for everybody. So all good stuff. It is 7 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. Yes,
your guest is early, so.
Okay, that's great because what we're going to do is when we come back, I have one more birthday that I absolutely want to talk about before we bring my guest on. And my guest second hour will be Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health. So we obviously will be talking about holiday safety, COVID, what's happening, updates. But I also want to talk a little bit about this birthday. So we will be back, and we'll see you in just a few.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Noble Hospital, a brand new name for a Westfield institution which is improving the health of our community every day with quality and compassion. Noble Hospital and Bay State Health, better together.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:06. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and Pete Coles is in the studio with me. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
And in just a few minutes, we're going to bring Joe Rouse on. Joe will be he's on the phone this morning, so we will bring him in just a minute. I want to do one more birthday. Now, Pete's my trivia guy. Ever heard of Amber Hagerman?
Yes, but I don't know how.
Okay. The late Amber Hagerman was born this day in 1986 in Arlington, Texas. She passed away in 1996, January 17th, 1996, at the age of 9. On January 13th, 1996, Amber Hagerman rode her bike into the parking lot of an abandoned grocery store. A man in a black pickup truck got out, forcefully took her off the bike, and put her into the cab of the truck. She screamed once and was kicking at her abductor, said the only witness to Amber's abduction. He called the police. The witness called the police shortly after seeing what happened, but it was to no avail. Despite more than 50 police officers and federal agents looking for Amber, they didn't find the youngster alive. Her body was discovered 5 days later, and to this day, the murderer has not been brought to justice. Shortly after Amber's funeral, Diane Simone, a mom herself, called into a local radio station. She had an idea. She figured if the local media sent out weather alerts, they could do the same for abducted children. When the National Weather Service issues an alert for severe weather, it interrupts television and radio broadcasts while making a loud noise. Why not do the same for kidnapped children? The idea stuck. Broadcasters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area partnered with local law enforcement to alert viewers and listeners to child abductions. Since 1996, the Amber Alert System, named after Amber Hagerman, went nationwide. Experts believe that more than 800 children were found safe thanks to the alert system as of December 2015. Abductors are more likely to release children when they discover that authorities have issued an Amber Alert. Amber is an acronym for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response System. Here's how Amber Alerts work. Once law enforcement determines if a case meets certain criteria, authorities notify broadcasters and state transportation agencies. Alerts interrupt programming, appear on statewide transportation signs, show up on digital billboards, and even arrive as text messages on cell phones. Simone cautions people never to ignore the alerts. Amber Alerts make people aware of the most serious cases of child abduction wherein authorities believe a child's life is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death. Amber Alerts can occur in multiple states at once, and they can happen at any time. Every minute counts in child abduction cases. As soon as you hear or see an Amber Alert, pay attention. Very worried family members may be counting on you to save their child's life.
Well, between that mom and John Walsh,
yes,
with the code Adam in the stores, they've done a ton for missing the
kids. I think that's one of those things where technology and media have really have really helped have really been a positive force. Sometimes we talk about, the negatives and remember the good old days. Well, in this case, those weren't so good old days when we really couldn't do anything about the things like that. So happy birthday to the late Amber Hagerman. And, something positive came out of just a horrific ordeal. All right, it is 7:10, and we have Joe Rouse on the phone. I think what we'll do, instead of starting with Joe, let's play Joe's new theme song, and then we can kind of have an extended time before the next break. So Joe's new theme song, which I love, I absolutely love this song, then it gets stuck in my head. It's by Andy Grammer. It's called Good to Be Alive, Hallelujah. So we're going to bring Joe Rouse, our Director of Public Health, in. We're going to play his theme song, and then we're going to start chit-chatting about holiday safety.
I've been grinding so long, been trying this here for years. And I got nothing to show, just climbing this rope right here. And if there's a man upstairs, he kept bringing me rain. But I've been sending up prayers and something's changed. I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Hallelujah, let that bass line move, yeah, say yeah. It's good to be alive right about now. I was dead in the water, nobody wanted me. I was old news, I went cold as cold could be. But I kept throwing on cold, trying to make that fire burn. Sometimes you gotta get scars to get what you deserve. I kept moving on, and now I'm moving up. Damn, I'm feeling blessed with all this love. I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Hallelujah, let that bass line move, yeah, say yeah. It's good to be alive right about now. I almost cannot handle it. I could get used to this. I almost cannot handle it. I could get used to this. I think I finally found It's good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Hallelujah, let that bass line move, yeah, say yeah. It's good to be alive right about now.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardy siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:14. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and we are now all wide awake after listening to the theme song, the new theme song for Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health for the City of Westfield. Because, Joe, it's good to be live right about now. What do you think?
Boy, does that's very appropriate right now, isn't it?
It is.
It's a whole new meaning.
Catchy. I know it does have a whole new meaning, right? Catchy tune, though.
Very. I love it.
So, Joe Rouse, how are you? How are things in public health land these days?
Wow, it's interesting. It's challenging, and it is busy.
Yes.
So I'll just give you a quick background of where we've been since the last time we talked.
Okay.
So what as everybody may or may not know, well, the numbers are going up. Surprise, surprise, and everything you hear about in the media is true, and we're not different from that in Westfield in the sense that the numbers are concerning and they continue to go up. And I expect after this upcoming holiday they'll go up again. Mm-hmm. But we'll put some reminders out there for people or ideas about how to keep safe during Thanksgiving. Yep. But first, last week we reported out a record number in a week of, I think it was 92 cases that we had.
Wow.
And yeah, so with that, I know in the news there was a lot of talk about the Westfield State University and their closure because of the numbers of cases they had on campus, and they basically shut down for the rest of the semester. A lot of those cases that we had reported last week, though, there were some Westfield State in there, but not a predominance of what the number was. So,
okay.
And we had a cluster in a nursing home recently. That number, those numbers died down. So last week's report really was just a community total of kind of a picture of what's going on in Westfield. Mm-hmm. And we're back to pretty much a full-scale community spread, which originally when we used to say that back in the spring, that was like a dirty phrase to say. Nobody wanted to hear, mm-hmm. That we're in the community spread phase, which basically means that, you're at that point where everybody has to continue to do everything that they're doing. Yet at the same time, it's almost gotten to a point where I won't say it's uncontrollable, but you really, unless there's some severe actions coming forward, it's just going to continue to grow. So that's kind of where we're at now, and we've been dealing with it. Like I said before, everybody kind of anticipated this resurgence in October, and now we're into November. This is no surprise, and the good thing is that, when we had our initial spike of, when everything started, we kind of it was difficult because nobody had been through this before. But now that we've kind of done round one, we're prepared with round two, and we're handling it much more efficiently. So at least that's a good thing, that hopefully, we're extracting people out of society, basically, mm-hmm. in a quicker way, more efficient way. So that'll help to reduce the spread too. But really, at this point now, and we'll talk about this after the Thanksgiving advisories, is that it's really all in the hands of the people right now, and there's only so much that government can do for you until you start to listen. So. Mm-hmm. But we can talk to that after.
Yeah. So, Joe, what do you think are some of the what are you up against in terms of, just the public? I mean, where do you see some of the biggest problems of maybe unsafe behaviors? Are you finding there are some generalizations that you can make about that?
Yeah, I could. I mean, it's pretty clear that the gatherings are a problem, and
okay.
That's why now heading into the Thanksgiving and even Christmas holiday, more and more advisories are going out about how to stay safe, or how not, or maybe not having gatherings, because even in a private home, because we realize that has been a problem. Now that more is known about the virus, the focus has shifted into more about, obviously, the more people you have together, the more this is going to spread. And so now it went down even into private homes where, the government is saying you shouldn't have more than 10 people in a gathering, even at your house. So that says a lot about what the severity is of the gatherings. When the government starts, and they're not mandating or dictating,
Right.
it's really just an advisory to say,
Yep.
you really can't do that gathering thing safely when you have more than X number of people in certain situations. So it is definitely the gatherings. And a lot of it, that's one. And in conjunction with that, gatherings with complacency is a recipe for disaster. So that's really where the concern is that, people think, well, it's my family or it's my friends or it's my neighbors and, we're all good. And you don't know where they've been and you don't know what their life is like. And so whether it's being comfortable or being complacent or just not believing that this is a thing yet, I don't know who would think that. But, that's the problem, is that we've seen a lot of gatherings of people in way more than, what the limits are. And the predominant theme is nobody's taking any precautions. They're not social distancing. They're not wearing masks. And it's just like it was 2 years ago, in certain situations that we come upon. So really need to curtail that. And, people need to start taking this a little bit more seriously now. And I have a whole soapbox that I can go off on about that because I'm not a politician and I don't have restrictions in speaking my mind about what the reality is.
Well, I think, I think one of the problems, and I think you hit the nail on the head, is when people say, "Well, I'm safe because I'm only going to be with family." Well, how does that make you? First of all, when people use the word family, I think a lot of them are talking about extended family for the Thanksgiving holiday, and that could be 15, 20, 30 people. I mean, if you have a family with lots of siblings and everybody's married and they have some kids and I think that people need to just look at this a little differently and that family thing, as you said, Joe, it's like, people start coming in and you don't know, you can't track where all those people have been and, the jobs that they're doing and, where they've been shopping and who they've been hanging out with. And, there are just so many different factors, but I think that people, there's a disconnect between this, well, I'm just going to be with family, so that means therefore I will be safe. And
you absolutely can't assume that. I mean, even in my own little clique of family is that I obviously don't live with my mother and and my mother is a very free spirit and I love her to death. But even her and I know, we have to be careful when we get together. Geez, I would love to be running up and hugging my mother every time I see her. But, she, in essence, we don't know each other's contacts. We don't know each other's comings and goings. And we certainly don't want to be the one responsible for spreading it to the other. So even in a mother-son relationship, which is about as close as you can get, my mother and I both have the kind of unsaid agreement, hey, we're not going to just pretend like because we're related that we're not going to be able to transmit the virus to each other.
Joe, at this point, what are some of what is life like at the health department? I mean, your staff comes in and what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? Kind of like walk us through some of the situations that you're running into and what are you working on over there?
Yeah, so a lot of it, I mean, everything is all COVID. It's pretty much just all encompassing. And we have a good staff. I mean, we're not down to the bare bones. So we have people and we always have individuals standing by to volunteer to help. Maybe it's retired nurses or just people who have been involved with public health before that will call us all the time and say, hey, if you need any help, I have a proficiency with this and that. And then sometimes we'll bring them in, which we've been doing. But on a daily basis right now, it used to be that we were doing a lot of contact tracing for the cases that we get reported. So as I said about the numbers, as you can imagine, when you start to get up to 100 a week and you only have 3 people in the department doing contact tracing, that is not going to work. You're not
Yeah.
going to be able to do everything. And so now we've kind of morphed into, we have the state contact tracing collaborative who's bolstered their efforts in doing that
Okay.
on behalf of cities and towns. So a lot of them right now, we're letting go those cases to the state contact tracing collaborative. And the ones that we keep are the ones that we see we really kind of have more of a vested interest in the community as far as it being a potential for, a larger super spreader event. So
Okay,
people that are school age kids or people that are staff that work in schools, people that are city employees, people that we see that, geez, we got to really expedite this in the contact tracing to remove the relative risk in a situation, especially in the schools. So we keep those cases ourselves because we work those faster than the state does.
Okay.
Or even a business, even somewhere where there's somebody working at a large business, and you start to see multiple cases come in, that's going to turn into a cluster, or like I said, a super spreader event. And then we keep those. And the other thing that we do a lot of now too is we really had to pump the brakes and pull back on the contact tracing because we get so many calls that we have to just consult people with. And, people will call, it doesn't matter, any member of the community concerned because, they'll say, hey, I just was with somebody who had close contact with somebody who was a positive case.
Right.
Those are things that we get. Those scenarios are laid out in front of us every day, almost all day long, and it's from people throughout the city. It could even people within the city that people that work for the city. Everybody's concerned because they don't. It's funny. We had some people that work for the city lay out these scenarios, and they've been on every call, Tina, and I know you've been on some of those calls in the past too, where we kind of put out what the protocol is and, the right way to determine who's a close contact and, just briefly discuss that. But when it hits home and it's close to you, you panic.
Yes.
And so we get calls from people that you would think should know, not necessarily better, but should not be in such a state. And they, it gets too close to home and they go, oh my God. And then they call and they say, okay, what do we do? Or what should we quarantine? Should we get tested? So a lot of what our nurses do now is just consulting with the public about, their concerns as far as exposure or, even the safety tips or what are the guidelines now? That's another thing we're big into interpreting what the governor lays out for orders and recommendations because that's very convoluted and the more time goes on, the more complicated it gets. So we kind of consult people with that on how to, remain in compliance.
And Joe, has I know I've been a little confused myself about some of what's come out of the governor's office. So has that? I mean, I know we were going through these phases. We had phase 1, and then we moved to phase 2, and then like phase 3, part A, or whatever it is. Like, have those changed recently, or are we still kind of in the phase type thing, or are new directives coming out all the time?
No real new mandates other. The last one was the mask mandate in public places, so that was a big one.
Yep.
The governor's kind of pumped the brakes in consultation with his advisory board. Obviously, we're not going to be able to progress into any further stages, and so there hasn't been really a lot of new things that have been promulgated from the governor. It's just been more of a now we have to step back and maybe instead of phase 3, step 2. We need to be phase 3, step 1, and we need to go backwards. And what we don't want to do is go too far backwards so that, it's really going to start to have a horrible effect on businesses and just people's livelihoods and everything. So, that's where it's really up to the people to start taking control of this or else, we give you a chance to do the right thing. That's what the government is advising you, highly advising you. You can listen and hopefully we'll get through this, or you can just not listen and then you're going to put everyone else in jeopardy of, losing their jobs or businesses.
Yeah. I think the last I heard from the governor, which was probably sometime last week, he was saying their biggest concern is not so much the businesses as, people have really worked hard at that, especially the small business owners, because they know this is their livelihood. But it is those family gatherings and those, informal gatherings among friends at people's homes that, is a lot less. I mean, it's a lot harder for the government to keep control over those kinds of things. And that's called personal responsibility, folks,
Yeah, and I do want to talk about that, like probably after we'll do the part about Thanksgiving safety, and then there is another thing that just to open people's eyes a little bit. But the last thing I'll say about this part is that the businesses are trying to do the best thing to stay open, and they're really being diligent about abiding by the orders and the requirements. The problem is that they are still considered a source of transmission.
Mm-hmm.
And we have schools that are still open in Westfield because they're not considered a source of transmission.
Mm-hmm.
So you think like, oh my God, why are the schools open when our numbers are going up? Well, the reason is the schools are the ones that are being the most careful in protecting people and preventing the spread, because they have all these protocols in place and they're doing it. They're not poo-pooing it. They're not just pretending like, oh, we don't need to do this anymore. I won't say it's a completely safe environment because you have a congregation of people, but they are still, doing the split hybrid model.
Yep.
And we're not seeing a lot of cases come out of the school. So if you want schools to either stay open or you don't want them to, go and be closed forever, I mean, for the rest of this semester and maybe next too, is that unfortunately you got to go after the places where the source of transmission is, and that would be some of the places that closed down before, like restaurants and limitations on retail establishments. We don't want to do that again. But the thing is if you close schools down before you close down any of these other places, the schools aren't going to open again for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a little kind of inside epidemiology information for people that, if you're worried about the schools being open because the numbers are going up right now, it's under control. I imagine there's going to come a point in time, if our numbers keep escalating, that it'll definitely affect the schools, and then they're going to have no choice but to close. But so far so good.
Yep. Let's work hard not to get there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's 7:30. Let's take a little break. Let's give Joe a chance to just kind of take a breath here. So, Joe, I found this great song. Today is National Jukebox Day, and I found this great song, and the title is "Drop It, Joe," which I thought was great. It's sung by Connie Francis. It's actually about, I think, like drop the nickel in the jukebox is, I think, what it's all about. But anyway, let's listen to "Drop It, Joe." We'll be back with Joe Rouse in just a few minutes.
Joe fell in love with a campus queen. He dreamed of her night and day. She had a crush on a record machine, and when he tried to kiss her, she'd say, "Drop it, Joe. Drop a dime in the jukebox, Joe. Drop it, Joe. Drop a dime in the jukebox, Joe. Come on and play this tune for me so I can twist all night." He bought her a big box of caramel and a dozen posies too. But when he passed the soda shop, he heard her yell, "Hey Joe, I've been looking for you." Drop it, Joe. lay at sea. He married the chick and it really was fun till she made him buy a wrecking machine. Drop the joke. Drop the joke. Come on and play this tune for me so I can dance all night. You wanna dance all night? So I can twist all night. You wanna twist all night? So I can heal some.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for ArtSpeak, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am joined this morning in studio. Pete Coles is here, the chairman of the board, our producer. And on the phone with us this morning is Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health for the City of Westfield, kind of talking all things COVID this morning. So welcome again, Joe.
Good morning.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about holiday safety. I mean, we have big holidays coming up. We have Thanksgiving, obviously, tomorrow. And, Thanksgiving is not just the day. It's the weekend. It's the whole time. And then we're moving right into the Christmas holidays. And again, that's not just Christmas Day as a one-shot deal, but you've got New Year's Eve and you've got, what would typically be the Christmas office parties and, dinners and all of those good things. So let's talk a little bit about how people can be safe during the pandemic. And I think we need to all, and I think a lot of people are, kind of rethinking. And this is a year of very different kinds of celebrations. So let's talk about some safety.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I'll just throw it out there. Don't travel, please.
Yes.
I know people already have their plans and they're going to do whatever they think is right for them and theirs. But I'm telling you, it's the worst idea that you could do right now. There's certain sorts of travel that are absolutely necessary. But I'll tell you what, in this day and age and now this year, to travel just for the purposes of, celebrating a holiday, you're not really doing anybody any favors. So, not to shame anybody, but I'll tell you, it's a bad decision.
Bad
and
idea.
We'll talk about poor decisions later. But one of the worst ones is this. So, hey, it's a free country. You can do whatever you want.
Sure.
But there are precautions you can take if you are traveling to make it a little bit safer. Number one, there's travel restrictions everywhere. So you need to find out what those are to your destination and make sure that, there may be a form you have to fill out. There may be quarantine periods involved. Definitely get your flu shot before you travel anywhere. And then all the other stuff, the wearing the mask, the separations, social or physical distancing, hand washing, everything we've been harping on since the beginning. But fundamentally, if you can get away with not traveling, then please don't, because it just opens up a whole host of other problems. And but again, people are going to do it, and some people may feel like and there's extenuating circumstances with that, obviously. But if you're just getting on a plane to go visit, Aunt Betty and Arizona so that you can have a turkey dinner, not the best idea.
Not a good idea. And I think, to your point, Joe, those travel restrictions, I feel like they're increasing by the day, sometimes by the hour. So you do need to be really careful about where you think you're going and check that out, because there are a lot of states that are, suddenly throwing their hat in saying, hey, don't come here. So.
Yeah, exactly. There's ones that'll say, "Hey, if you're from there, don't come here. We're
Right.
not going to let you."
Yeah.
Or or you come here, that's fine, but you're under quarantine until you can produce a negative test. So,
Yep.
of course, there's always a contingent of people that, and this is another problem with what we're going through, is just they're going to try and circumvent fly under the radar, and
Yep.
hopefully nobody will. Okay, hey, and what's the worst that's going to happen if somebody catches you? Who knows? It depends on the state you're going to, what the punitive action is.
Mm-hmm.
But fundamentally, just kind of shame on you if you do that.
Right.
But
Right.
so there's the travel stuff. Now, if you're going to be semi-responsible and stay home, try not to do the gathering thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the number one advisory right now by everybody from the CDC all the way down is, have a Thanksgiving. Everything's different this year. You
Sure.
can't just pretend like you can go back to normal.
Yes.
And so, stay at home with members of your own household.
Yep.
If you want to reach out to other people during the holidays, I got to tell you, we're fortunate that this didn't happen 20, 25 years ago,
You
because
betcha.
we have the technology now.
Yep.
If you want to go and Zoom your family, or we just did it the other night for a birthday.
Yep.
And it's not the same, obviously, but still you get to see people, talk to people, and it feels good. It's kind of a nice way to still connect, but without physically being there.
Yep. Absolutely.
But if you do have to go to a gathering, again, we're saying that even in private homes, there's a number of 10. One thing that wouldn't hurt, and consider this really needs to be thought out and planned. I know we're the day before Thanksgiving, but it doesn't hurt to bring your own food
Mm-hmm.
and your own stuff, your own plates and cups and utensils and everything.
Okay.
That's not a horrible idea. And you might look like a germaphobe when you show up there, but who cares? I mean, so what? Everybody should be a germaphobe right now.
We're beyond we're beyond what it looks like these days.
I
Joe,
hope so.
I
hope so. Yeah.
You know what? I would like I'd like to throw something in there, Joe. You were talking about, the fact that if this had happened 20 years ago, we didn't have the technology. But I have seniors that are not computer savvy. I have some seniors who don't own computers. You know what, folks? It's okay to pick up a telephone and call your elderly relative. They absolutely are loving phone calls. I can tell you that because we've done now about 1,700 telephone reassurance calls out of the senior center since this thing started. And even we were confirming this week, we were getting people on the phone just to confirm, because we're doing some Thanksgiving meal delivery tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day, which we do every year to our, sort of our homebound and some of those that are kind of the frailest and just really can't get out. And especially those who don't have any family. And so, boy, just to confirm, we just wanted to remind you that a volunteer will be bringing this meal. They just wanted to stay on the phone and chat for another, 15 or 20 minutes. So please, they love that. Just don't be afraid to just go the old-fashioned, not a text message. You can use your cell phone, but pick it up and actually call and talk to the person. And my other thing this year is, for all of you people who got away from sending Christmas cards, get out your pen and some stamps and some envelopes and, go get a couple boxes of Christmas cards and send those out, because some of those, people, they do need that human connection. And when they can't have contact, there are other ways to connect. And, certainly, as you said, Joe, for those who have the capability, Zooming is great, or Google Meet, or any of those, computer face-to-face, but there are other ways as well. And don't forget about the good old-fashioned telephone, or just Christmas cards. Jot somebody a note. I said to Gary, we typically send out a lot of Christmas cards because we've moved around a lot over the years, and we like to stay in touch at least once a year. But I said to Gary, man, everybody that I've ever met is getting a Christmas card this year. I just feel like we just need to connect with people. So that's a safe way to do it.
That is, yeah, very, very, very true. And the Christmas card idea, I love it. And I know, I think you're going to see a real uptick in that this year. I've actually been getting text messages from people, even in my own family from out of state, that are asking for my address.
Get
well,
your address.
I know what's
Absolutely.
coming,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
what a great thing, though. But you're right. I mean, the contact and interaction is so limited now to our own little cohorts and people in our bubble. Maybe we do need to revert back to the kind of good old days and the way we used to communicate and express our our concern or our love or our whatever for the people that we know. And that's a great idea. Probably nothing that I'm going to say is going to be any more valuable than send Christmas cards out. So, sometimes the mental and the psychological thing just completely trumps this whole sane regurgitation of precautions that we keep saying over and over. So,
Sometimes you have to take a step back. I think for those of us that are slogging through this every day, you get so caught up. And I know, and we do at the senior center too, Joe. It's like, what else can we do, and how else can we help, and how many meals can we do? And sometimes we just need to take a step back and say, are there some simple things that we can do, or that others can do, or that we can advise people to do, to just make life a little bit easier for everybody, as we are in this together, folks, whether you like it or not. And I think, a lot of what you're saying, Joe, really speaks to that. So, yes, we don't want to trample on your individual rights to travel or to gather or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that these numbers are climbing, hospitalizations are climbing, deaths are climbing. And, do you really want to be a part of that? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like I said, I have if we have a couple minutes, I know you'll probably have to take another break.
No,
but
that's
after,
okay. I think what we're going to do, Joe, is we'll go through, because I have to finish up at about 5 of 8 anyway. Harry's got a packed show today, and I've got to get back to the senior center to cut pie, because we're doing 200 meals today at the senior center curbside, our turkey dinners. So we have a few minutes. So go ahead and jump right in.
All right. So I just want to run through before we get off the gathering thing. So just a real quick rundown of things. If you're hosting a gathering, one of the big things that I just wanted to make sure I say to people, I know this sounds stupid, but if you're celebrating indoors and you have a gathering of people, we want the windows open. And I know it's cold, and I know that you're going to be concerned your heat bill or whatever, but it's only for a little while. It's a few hours. Keep the windows open. We need to have air circulation. We can't have stagnant air with, just virus particles hanging there waiting for people to breathe in. So even in your own home, make sure you have the windows open, make sure you're cleaning and disinfecting all the touch surfaces frequently. And maybe even consider, as long as you have the windows open anyway, maybe consider moving part of it outside for a little bit instead of everybody being inside all the time. Hopefully the weather's not, it's not going to be freezing cold. So those are just a few things if you're going to be hosting a gathering. And then, so just the last thing that I wanted to say, everything that we've been talking about so far, and I just want to let people know that, and you asked Tina about what is the common denominator, what's the biggest source of transmission for this whole thing? And again, we talk about gatherings. The other second biggest source of transmission is just poor decisions by people. And I hate to be the one to have to say this now, but this is where we're at. And, in the beginning, we really were trying to, because this was new to everybody, really trying to give people all the advice and information that we could so that they could make informed decisions, they could do the right thing. And pretty much everybody was on board with that. And we've turned a corner now, and those decisions that are being made are not always good. This is all in the hands of the people. We can't change this without people doing what they're supposed to do. And we're not telling you what to do, we're advising you. And you need to take that advice now. I know that everybody that listens to your show, Tina, is probably exempt from my tirade about people making poor decisions because they obviously care to tune in to listen to know what to do. So if this message in any way, shape, or form squeaks out of your audience and gets into the people's ears. I'm not a politician. I'm not bound by being politically correct when I say that, if this whole situation was a result of government neglect or incompetence, heads would roll. The fact is that the government has only been doing everything they can to help keep you from getting sick. So now it's on the other side. So why, where's the outcry for the people that are making the poor decisions? I guess since it's not the government, it's not a big deal.
Right.
But anyway, we'll continue to fight to save people from themselves, I guess, is what we're doing now. It's honestly what's best for people's health is what we say, what we're advising, all this stuff that I keep having to say over and over again. But until it's taken seriously, and follow what the advisories are, there's going to be more government mandates, and that's not what anybody wants. And we're trying to give you the chance to do the right thing. Do the right thing, and it's not a threat. It's just a reality. The government doesn't want to step on your freedom. This is a democracy. This is a great society that we live in. But people need to do their part. And right now, the biggest piece of the pie in this whole equation lies in the hands of the people to make the right decisions and do the right thing.
And I think, Joe, that people have options. I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, if I can't gather with, my 25 family members, Thanksgiving is ruined. Well, no, it's not. You just have to think differently. And I think, so much, I used to have a keychain that I loved, and it said, life is an attitude. And it really is, you really have to just turn it around and say, well, yeah, we can't do things the way we did them last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. We have to do them differently. But I think if you can embrace the change and say, it was interesting. Gary and I were talking about this last night. My husband and I were saying, it's really going to be kind of nice tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day. He always volunteers to help deliver meals for me on Thanksgiving morning. But once that's done, it's kind of like, it's just going to be the two of us for Thanksgiving dinner. And I'm just going to do, I'm doing a small turkey breast and doing some other things like that. But, we were talking about how it's just going to be, there's no pressure. It's like, well, when we get home from the senior center, we'll start working on dinner. We'll do it together. We don't have guests coming that we have to entertain. There's not a certain time that I have to get the meal on the table, because we invited people to come over at a certain time. It's like, hey, it's just the two of us. When we're done cooking and we're hungry and we want to eat, we're going to eat. And, maybe we'll watch a Christmas movie and start to get into the, sort of the spirit of the season. And so, it's just a matter of taking what you have normally done, because this is, we all keep saying this is not a normal year, and just changing it up, but really kind of stepping back and saying, well, what are the good things about those changes? And, folks, there are some good things. I just worked on I usually send out just a short, little Christmas update to my friends and family. And this year I just thought, oh my God, who wants to read any kind of an update on how horrible everything is. And so I completely focused on silver linings. And I just, pointed out some of the really positive things that have come of all of this. And if you look for them, my contention is you will find them. If you look for some of the good things, whether it's reconnecting with we've reconnected with our neighbors just because we're all out walking, we're wearing our masks and we're out there and we're walking, and that's been really great. And there have been a lot of the seniors have shared stories like that.
Hey,
so.
Tina, can I throw in a plug for the next show?
You absolutely can.
Something that you can do every year and that you can continue to do because it's good for social distancing.
Go for it.
Bright Nights.
Oh,
Harry's going to talk about that in the next half hour.
That's so funny, Pete, that you said that, because I thought to myself, are they doing Bright Nights this year? Because this is like that's absolutely the thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the perfect, it's like the parade of lights. You drive through, physical distancing, getting in the holiday spirit. I'm so glad that they're doing that.
Yep.
Because I thought
so
to
Judy
myself,
Matt's going to talk about that. She's on the line, ready to go. So.
Oh, that is perfect. So you know what, Joe? I thank you so much we're gonna end a few minutes early today. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing, your thoughts and your input, your ideas and suggestions, and your wisdom. Because I think, you and I talked about a month or so ago where you said, you felt like your role has kind of switched from giving people directives to now just here's the data, make smart decisions based on the data that I'm giving you. And I think that's all you can do. I mean, we can't, we can't police people. You're not going to bust into people's homes and say, hey, you've got 15 people here. What the heck are you thinking? And all the windows are closed and, everybody's within 3 inches of each other. So.
Yeah, no, it's true. And just a quick thing on that is that I just really am in the position now of encouraging people to go above and beyond. Don't do the bare minimum anymore. Don't try and circumvent the rules. Don't try and find a loophole or anything. Play by the rules. Do the right thing. And you're right. Good things will come of it. And there are silver linings even in a lot of the doom and gloom speak that I have. If you will find it very surprising if you do the right thing, there'll be unintended, very good consequences. So,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, on that note, listen, have a wonderful, small Thanksgiving. But you know what? I'm going to say have a small but meaningful Thanksgiving. I think that's where we should all be this year. What do you think?
It's nice. Yeah,
Alrighty.
Absolutely. It's nice.
Okay, very good. Thanks so much, Joe. My mantra, stay physically distant but socially connected. And Joe?
Stay healthy, my friends.
All right, we'll see you next time.
I knew he must have been about 17.